Hello, 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 you guys. It's me, Dr. Torie, coming to you again with another episode of Be Victorious. Now, let me share something with you, wonderful people. This young lady actually really needs no introduction. She's very well of ACEs. She's very aware of mental health, trauma. She's actually an advocate and has been doing this for a while. But I had to have her here because it's always good for us to bring each other together and go ahead and hear it from another standpoint. And I'm going to tell you now, she's good. I pursued her and found out we had so much in common that, again, I'm not going to wait any longer to introduce this young woman. Reba, where are you? There she
Hi.
goes. Let the world know because some people already really know, but let our listeners, let our people know exactly who you are.
Okay, so like she said, my name is Reba. Currently I am a life coach. I'm a breakthrough coach. That is my score line, if you want to say it. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube. I am the breakthrough coach. And pretty much I live in Wisconsin right now. I have a 16-year-old boy and a 6-year-old daughter. And that's just a little bit about me, but I can get more into my background, later. So
So, again, I know who you are. They will find out exactly in detail who you
yeah,
are, how you are, and what you are. But you are the breakthrough coach. Tell
yes.
us why.
Okay, so I call myself the breakthrough coach because usually when I started doing this, I get on the platform and I started realizing that people was having aha moments. That's what I call it when you listening
Mhm.
to my podcast or anything. You have little snippets of aha moments. So that means that you're having a breakthrough at that time. So that's when I was talking to someone and another young lady that was following me, and she said, "I think you should just call yourself the breakthrough coach because." At that time, I was specializing in domestic violence. I am a specialist for domestic violence advocates. So I think my name was something else, but transitioned it to the breakthrough coach because what she said made so much sense. You make people have breakthroughs. So that's why I'm the breakthrough coach.
So, you guys, pay attention. You're sitting with the breakthrough coach and Dr. Victorious. And we're going to get it down, you guys, because what you all don't understand, and it's time. She's already let you know what she does. She has a wonderful podcast. Tell us more about the podcast.
So the podcast is pretty much, I put it together because God um, told me, spoke to me and told me I need to say more. Now, there's so much as a life coach that as you probably know, and because you're in this area, that you want to help. And so there's so many people you want to help. There's so many things you want to say and do. And just what we do on our platforms is just not enough. So it was downloaded in my spirit one day just to start a podcast. This is when podcast was just starting. Everybody was getting real big around podcasts and everything else. And I said, I have so much more to offer and to say. And that's literally how the podcast came about. I actually talk about my personal life and my personal testimonies and how I healed for certain things. And then I actually go into depth on things that God wanted me to say, and sometimes I have guests on, and then sometimes if I don't, it's just me. You will hear me pretty much giving you the in depthness of what I had to do, what I had to go through in my own life, and how I healed from certain things, certain trauma, certain ACEs I had to heal from. So that's what the podcast really is about.
And so, you guys, I had to, because when I tell you her podcast is really good, it really, 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 really
Thank,
is.
thank you.
No, really, it really is. And so you brought up ACEs. And so do you discuss this on your podcast? Do you discuss this with your clients? Tell us more. You took the ACEs quiz, correct?
I did, and this is
Mhm.
I'm taking the ACEs quiz. So guys, I was introduced to ACEs. The reason why I bring up ACEs is because this is actually how I actually got started. I was introduced to ACEs through another friend of mine when I first got started and became a coach. And to find out so much how ACEs is a part of all of us
Yep.
and how I don't know about it. There was so many people that don't know about it. I actually did when I ended up did the test. I actually wanted to do it more, so I ended up doing it with my son and asking him the questions. And my
Mm,
son is, as I said before. So once I started asking him the questions, I started realizing he also went through it too. I
mhm,
started maneuvering myself to talk about it on my podcast to say, you know what? Everybody needs to talk about ACEs and expound on. Now, I had specialized in, like I said, the domestic violence, if you want to say sector of ACEs,
mhm.
but that is so many other factors of ACEs. If you are aware, guys, I'm sure you're aware because Dr. Victoria, she gonna educate you.
I am.
But on me, I feel like we all have a part in the position and to make ACEs awareness more out there and to say, okay, because you've dealt with this, this is what this actually is,
Right.
and this is what this looks like, and there's a way to heal from it. So that's what pretty much I do with my ACEs on the show, on the podcast.
So you guys, if you all say, so what's next, Dr. Torie? Like you okay, so you've educated me, you've done this. You would go and talk to someone like Reba. And the thing is, she's telling you that her emphasis is domestic violence. She's well aware of ACEs. She's well aware of the steps. She's well aware of everything. But that next, like how we've had therapists on the show, like how we've had people that are actually really true cycle breakers on the show, she is another alternative. She can help you. So not only does she have this podcast, I have to shout you out because what I love that you said is once you took the ACEs quiz, you gave it to your son. And we don't have that as parents. Parents are scared to do that because of what they can find. But what they don't realize is they are part of the problem too.
Okay.
I will honestly say that because I know that I am. I didn't expect for my children, I did the best that I could. But I'm a divorcee as well, and I'm raising my girls full time. But every opportunity that I get is an ACEs moment for them. And it's like, oh, mom, but they can tell you exactly what it is. So I gotta give you your shout out because how many parents are out there doing that?
None, pretty much none.
Right.
A
So
lot of
what do you do? Do you have those issues when you're doing your life coaching?
I do, because I do my life coaching with my church, which is
Mhm,
a factor of how I actually wanted to make this bigger. I
mhm,
brought my coaching program to my church, and I wanted to if they accept it, and because not just domestic violence, but trauma itself is so silenced in the church realm. I
mhm.
wanted to bring it there so we can understand and open up people's minds to say, okay, this is what you're dealing with. This is not unknown. This is not something you can't heal from. And like you just said, after you know what it is, I actually have my students do the ACEs test and ACEs score at the beginning. I actually do. I've been starting it for years. And it's only because I want them to know a lot of people don't know about it. I was one person that didn't know about it. And so with me teaching it to my son, it's him growing up to understand, okay, he could be better than where I was at or where
Right.
you at. Because most of the time we don't know stuff because of ignorance, our past, our history, our trauma. We don't know things as a child or teenager, and then we find out stuff as an adult. How many times have you found out stuff as an adult? I wish I
Right.
would have known. I think speaking for you too, but myself, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now if we found out these things at an early age. And I love what I do, and I'm sure you do, and I love helping people. But I'm telling you, what I actually tell my students too, you can be better than me. Don't
Exactly.
me as someone that's just arrived and has made it, and I'm on this pedestal. Nope. I'm going through just like you go through, but I'm actually in a place where I know that I can overcome it and I can actually heal from it. And I don't have to let it be a factor where it changes me, it changes my environment, changes my children. So, you
So
know,
when you had your ACEs aha moment, when was that?
When I took the first test,
Yes,
oh, um, it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
that's recent. Yeah.
Recent. It was 4 years ago, and I took the ACEs test, and this is right when I was transitioning to become a life coach,
Okay.
and it hit home because it was talking about, even though the alcohol abuse and what I dealt with as a child with my mom being an alcoholic and stuff like that, it actually played a part in who I am now, because that's the reason why I don't drink or whatever,
Okay.
because of my mom being an alcoholic and being raised with that. So, but still, it played a part in me saying, "Oh, my son might be going through something, things that he's seen in my first marriage, when I was married before, that, oh, this, yeah, did affect him. It probably did affect him. He's not talking about, because he don't know how to talk about it. He don't know how to express it. And he's 16 now. So, 4 years ago, of course, he was really young. Like, I don't know how to express what I was going through. And so,
Right.
and I did ask him, does this, like, it was a video on this questionnaire afterwards, and I said, does this apply to you? He said yes. It was just like, I knew it, but I wanted him to be honest. And
Right.
yes, I was like, okay, then mommy is doing this because I want you to be aware, but I'm doing this because I want to heal, and I also want you to be better than I am. So
Ooh. And what I love is the interaction with this young man who's a teenager and he's
mhm.
yours. So
Yep.
you can do that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna tell you this. Episode 5, that's my daughter. I did not know. So you know how you put the information in and you check the box. When I
Yeah.
see Kari, I said, you playing. You want to do
Yep.
this? He's like, yeah.
Yep.
She advocates and she does her thing. She's going through challenges like everybody else, but I love that she embraces her aces. And I'm going to say it like that. And I gotta give kudos to your son because he's doing the same. So kudos to you as a parent. Kudos to you as a life coach. Kudos to you just as an aces advocate all together. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, we got
So
to
how
do
do
something.
you heal? How do you heal? What do you do for healing?
So I tell people this, okay. How I heal personally is, first of all, I am saved, so I know the Lord. That
Yeah.
comes with the territory, okay. Um, but I also heal because I tell people and I tell my students, healing is an everyday journey. It's just like grief, right? When
Mhm.
you grieve, you don't want to tell somebody tell you how to get over it or when to get over it, right? You want to go through the process. What I did in my healing process is, once I realized that, I actually went into therapy. I love therapy.
Good
And
for
I
you.
put my son into therapy. And my son loves therapy.
Good for you.
That was the first step I actually did, because I wanted to make sure that these niches that I had going on in my personal life, that I didn't think was affecting me anymore. Because sometimes we think that things are not affecting us anymore, and they come up in other relationships or other friendships, or just by us feeling a certain way.
Mm.
And what my therapy did, she intuned in everything that was going on with me as an adult, but in my childhood. And
Okay.
so I was reacting the way I was reacting to certain things, having the anxiety. It's just so funny, because I just talked about this year, God told me on my podcast to be more vulnerable and open and honest. And my podcast before, I was telling my stories, but he said go into deep and depth,
Mhm.
things that you never told before. So this year, I'm telling like the depth stuff. So last on my podcast, I actually talked about my anxiety. A lot of people don't know I have anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety. And so a lot of people, when you think about anxiety, like, oh, that's just, no, I realized that when I was going through an anxiety, they started as panic attacks about when I was in my 20s. I'm 40 now, but in my 20s. So I'm wondering why every month I'm having panic attacks. I'm in the hospital every month. And at this time, I'm working 2 jobs and I'm doing everything else. But once I realized my anxiety was coming from what I learned as a child,
Mhm.
that had to be in order. And my mother taught me, so things have to be in order. I have an OCD thing. And a lot of people didn't know that. Yeah, I have OCD. And so all this got diagnosed pretty much in
Mhm.
therapy.
Mhm.
And so I was just like, God knows, and it wasn't nothing that I had like take a pill. But I talk about people that ain't nothing wrong with taking pills and everything else. But I was telling people on that podcast that just because you don't have a mental illness don't mean you don't have a mental issue. And
Right.
a lot of people think that just because I'm not diagnosed with bipolar or schizophrenia or something like that to that factor, that they don't have a mental illness or issue. And I
Right.
told anxiety and OCD is a mental issue. It can't take over your life. It actually played a part in my relationships. It played a part in how I raised my kids. It played a part in, you know, why I'm so such a neat freak with cleaning and everything else. But yeah, everybody think that a neat freak with cleaning is a good thing. Your house is always clean. That's what everybody tell me.
Right.
Yeah, but it plays a part in when you have a mate that's not a neat freak at cleaning
Right.
and arguments, and the arguments span into other things because
Mhm.
he didn't do it the right way or he didn't do it the way I wanted him to do it. It plays a part. I had to learn that in therapy.
And see, people do not understand that that has an effect on your relationships. Not just relationships, but friendships, like ships.
Yep.
And that's the reason why I tell people, we talking about it, but y'all keep overlooking the fact that we've made this normalcy and it's really not.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Not okay. You made it normal. And what you think is normal because, and I thought it, I thought my panic attacks and my anxiety was normal. I thought, that saying, it's just me. That's just me. That's just how I respond
Mhm.
was normal. I thought that's just the way I was. Nobody understands how I am. Okay, whatever. And it came from, I would say my stem from my mother always wanted to clean house. We always had a clean house. It was, the old school mamas and pull everything out the cabinets. But I realized that was abuse. That was abuse.
And we think it's
Well,
okay. And we thought it was
everybody
okay because it was
pull
a
everything
normalcy.
wake you up in the middle of the night to pull out everything out the cabinets because it's one thing that's dirty.
Or let me put it, when the mom make food, you got to eat everything on your
On the
plate
plate.
because if you don't like, and please don't get me wrong, please don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it, but it
Right
depends on the
now.
person. If they don't like broccoli, they don't like.
I, I I was that child that would eat and I'll sit there and until I fell asleep and she just say go to bed and I won't. I was that child. I was just that stubborn.
That is called emotional. But then again, let me stop because remember, we're just the life coaches. That's the reason
Yep,
why I love when people
yep,
say, okay, well, let's get the therapist. Fine. Here's the
yeah,
therapist that's gonna say the same thing. Well,
yep, yep,
here, I'm telling you, here's the coach right here.
yes,
Got a
yep.
name, title, everything doing what she's doing. And here we are. This led you to do this.
Mhm,
So I'm going to ask you a good question.
mhm.
Why?
Why did I want to heal?
Why did you want to heal?
I wanted to heal personally for my kids. I didn't want them seeing someone that was so we are broken, but I didn't want them seeing someone so broken that change was not possible. And
Mm,
the reason why I say that is because a lot of times we think we change and I says, oh, I gotta change, I gotta change. No, I call it you gotta evolve. That
mm,
you have to evolve the way you think and you have to evolve the way your thoughts, you have to evolve. That don't mean you changing who you are, but
yeah,
you're evolving and saying, okay, just because it worked that way at one spectrum, I don't have to do it like that every single time. Hmm. I'm the kind of parent, I'll say my parenting skills is I get loud. I do. And I I can't be on here lying to y'all. Okay.
right, right.
Now, one of my parenting skills I find I give my kids more of a voice to talk.
Yeah.
Does it work? Yes, but does it kind of back me in the corner sometimes when they really want to tell me something? I be like, okay, I gave them too much of voice, but I wouldn't change it for the world, and that's what I'm talking about. I didn't change who I was. my kids know I don't play, but at the same time, I give them more voice. Why did you do that?
Right.
You know, instead of the way I was raised, and you
We
can't,
was raised because
it,
we didn't
it,
have
you
that.
can't, it ain't no reason why you did. And sometimes I realize, not sometimes, all the time, actually, I realize you have to ask them why they did. You got to ask them what the process was. Just because you think that way doesn't mean, not saying that wasn't right, but at the same time, I want to know, CJ, why? Why?
Right.
Why you think it was good to get in the car with your teenage friend when I told you not to, or whatever, and not call me? Explain to me why. And he'll just, that's how I do it. And he'll stare at me like, she really asked me a question, she wrote a rebuttal or whatever. And I'm like, no, I really want to know why. Because sometimes you got to know why the child did what they did instead of silencing them and getting inside their head. And then on the other end, okay, well, that was wrong. This is why I'm telling you, you can't. Not just saying, just don't do it because I said so. Because sometimes we said so, it's not a good thing. It's also something I started when my son was probably like 10 or 11. He had to give me work report cards. Every time my son get a report card, I get a report card. A lot of people don't know that, but that's the reason why I did it. Because we think we're so perfect parents. We don't make mistakes and we're just right all the time.
Oh,
Not.
come on with this. Come on. I told y'all. Come on. Because this is the reason why this generation is so
Yeah.
is stay in a child's place. Do as I say. We're not giving them the voice, but they need to right now, especially because what happens when somebody besides you is doing something different?
Hmm.
How they gonna come to you when you keep silencing them every time you have the opportunity? So again, I gotta give you your props because I bet you he love you to death.
That's my boy. It's like a lot of people be like when they meet him because he's so quiet and he's to himself. And a lot of people always tell me, and my neighbor now said, she's like, he doesn't act like other teenagers. She said, I just love your son. And I was sitting there like, what do I mean? But I get it. I understood when in the beginning when she was saying that he's very humble, he's very modest. He says hi. He asks, do she need help? Stuff like that. The teenagers, because I work with teenagers, they don't. They usually like into themselves. They usually get attitudes, stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying he's the perfect child. I was just saying this to a lady at my church today. He's not the perfect child. I don't have the big problems. And I say that's by God, honestly, truthfully. I don't have the big problems that most teenagers or parents will have with him. I haven't had a big thing with him. So he'll come to me, mommy, I gotta talk to you about something. And now he into this little girl's phase. And we went through that for the last 3, 4 years. And it was just like, oh God,
Yeah.
trying to educate him with that to make his own mistakes. Because sometimes I do believe you have to, you can't say no from everything.
Right.
He just went through a relationship last year and the
Mhm.
girl cheating on him, but I had to let him figure it out and let him, you know, find out what he likes and what he don't like and speak up for himself. Because I wanted, me, mama wanted to go in there and say, girl, just break up with the girl. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That was his first real relationship that he really liked someone and the girl, and I said he has to have his own identity. He has to figure it out what he likes and what he don't like. He has to speak up for himself. He has to say, okay, this is not what I'm going to deal with. I don't care if you are 16 years old. Why do we think that because they're 16, 15, 14, that they're not human beings?
Right.
If we knew what we knew now, we would not have made the decisions that we made as adults.
Come on. Tell me what they call you again.
The breakthrough.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to put the emphasis on it a couple more times. I'll probably do that again. And y'all see, I tried to tell you. I think I've said I tried to tell y'all like 3 times. But listen, y'all, listen. Because at the end of the day, we're all the same. We just have our ways, our approach, our things of doing. God bless you. For people to come to you and tell you that your son is amazing, let's be clear. I work with high school students, and to have a 16-year-old that listens, that can actually talk, that is not doing things that are outside, God bless you. And see, this not even what this is the reason why I love the podcast is because for some odd reason there's this space where people can just sit and do exactly what we're doing now. So I got to give you the props. I want to say you one of my first of many parents that have actually we steered this discussion pretty much around our parenting. And it's important because these are the things that parents need to understand and know. You talked about therapy, not just for you, but for your son. You talked about the ACEs quiz, not just for you, but for your son. You talked about the fact that you address ACEs not only on your podcast, but you give it to your people. So, what can we do? How can we help others?
Um, I think one thing we need to do is get the word out more, not just on our podcast,
Okay.
but who having a conversation with. You having a conversation with a girlfriend, you realizing some things. I've done that in the past where they like, what?
I said, I talk about it all the time. They know that here come Torie and then here I come. And it is
uh,
what it is.
I feel like we need to just in a general segment or conversation, we having parties, dinner party, whatever you having, talk about it. Because you can help just if you helping just one person. And I tell people this all the time. I don't care if it's one person that listens to my podcast every week. I record every week, and it's one person I help. That is one more person that's gonna make their life different and have a change. I don't have a big platform and a big listenership on my podcast, and that's fine. If that's where God has it right now, that's where God has it right now. But my thing is, I still got to get the word out. I still have to talk about the things that I'm healing from, that I healed from, that I want people to be better. Because at the same time, it's in me. It's actually in me to help people heal. That's why I read so many books. That's why this year, I'm writing 3 more books. My kids are writing their first books this year. Or whatever. My son is writing about a book, and he did show me his intro a week ago because I asked him, I was like, "How's the book coming along?" And he showed me an intro, and it's about a young Black boy being Black in America.
Oh.
And the intro, his intro blew me away. And I said, "Honey, you're doing such a great job." Now, mind you, I'm gonna be real. I didn't think he was gonna do this good.
And he doing it, so he outshine. So not only you a cycle breaker, he is too.
Exactly. And he'll come to me. He came to me about a year ago and said, "Mom, I want to bring something to my school that I can help other kids because most of my teenage friends come to me for advice and stuff like that." And I'm like, and it made me a proud mom because I like that from his mom.
That's my son. That's my son. I know you did. I know you did.
Presented it, went to the dean, and they approved it. That he could, yes. So he came on and told me that.
So wait a minute. I gotta do this. So we might have to do a part 2. I want to meet him. I love let's be clear. I know that's been my background. I do high school. I tried the elementary. I work with them too. Middle school. Middle school is a whole different. My high school has always been my niche. I tell you, I want to meet him. So let's look into that because I want to tell my listeners, your job was to come and piggyback. You were supposed to be the coach to say, do it. We having a whole conversation as mothers, and this is the thing that I love, you all, because this is the reason why we have this space. This right here is going to impact so many people because we need this generation to know and understand it's okay to have ACEs. It's okay. Not only is he embracing it, but he's stepping out here on his own. So we need to go ahead and put a light on him, shine a light on him, shine a light on him, because that's what I want to do.
And I'm sure he doesn't mind. He has been on my podcast before, and it was like one of my number 1 podcasts that he did or whatever. Yeah, because I found out some things on the podcast when I was like, "You want to be on my podcast?" And it was like at last minute. He was like, "Yeah." And it was when he was transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade. And this is when
Mm.
mommy was finally, getting the divorce and everything. We had the whole little transition and everything else. And on that podcast, I learned so much stuff that I didn't even know. I was just like, okay, son. And he was
I'm gonna
talking
have to
about,
check this one out.
yes, how he chose his life, how he chose the military school that he's at right now. He wanted to go to a military academy. He talks about because he wanted to do something different than what his friends was doing, and he didn't want to go to the same school they was going to because he wanted to do something different with his life. It was just like, okay, so
I'm gonna check it out.
so I can say honestly, no, truthfully, I am a proud mom. I am proud of him because I promise you, it wasn't nothing. I don't give myself credit really. I give it to God. God,
Amen.
it, with what I've been through, and he knows my stories. He don't have a problem. He knows I was abused by his father. He knows all that. He, read my book. So he read my book and he understood where mom is at and where mom was at that time. He knows that he was a baby I prayed over because I was getting abused while he was in my stomach. He knows
Mm.
that. So to flourish and see him flourishing just at 16 years old, I am proud. I am. And I thought half of the time I think about it when I, pray or something like that. And I'll be like, God, I mean, you couldn't give me more perfect child. No, nobody's perfect, but I do say that sometimes because
Right.
I think sometimes I get used to him being like that, that I
Mhm.
don't that he could be another way. He
Right.
could be his friends are coming to me talking to me, or he could be like he telling me the stories about his friends. He could be nope, he's just the respectful, mild mannered young man that actually wants help to help people also to change. So
He's motivated by his mentor, who happens to be his mom.
thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna do this. Let people know where to find you.
You can find me on Instagram. I am the Breakthrough Coach, Facebook Breakthrough Coach, and you can find me at the podcast, The Breakthrough Coach. And I have a book on Amazon called A Blessing in Disguise. And then my second book is From Ashes to Beauty. So,
So what I'm going to do is say thank you guys because there's going to be, I don't know if we should call it a part two, but maybe we could call it an extension because I wasn't expecting this at all. Be totally
I
honest with you. And
was,
I think I like it this way because you are amazing and we are going to be doing more collaborations together and we're going to be working together. But I have an organization. It's called Be Victorious Foundation, where
yeah,
I mentor youth with ACEs. And I would like to introduce them to your son.
I
So
would love.
we're going to go ahead and say, thank you guys. This is it for people that don't. I always create this space. Thank you, God, because we're going to pause. You're going to see more of mom. Trust me. This what I wanted you, but I got mom, and we're going to go ahead and just conclude for right now because we'll be back and we're going to have more discussion about this. So again, you guys, y'all know me. I'll flip the script in a second. I got to flip the script on this one because we'll be back. So tune in, you guys, next time for the next episode. But for this one, we'll go ahead and put a pause on it. Reba, thank you so much. It's
You.
been another episode, and you will see us very soon. Bye bye
Thank
for now.
Bye.